Welcome to the Heartbreak to Happiness Show with Sara Davison. If you're struggling with a breakup and you feel shocked, angry, betrayed, devastated, or sad and alone, then this podcast is for you. Best-selling author and award-winning host Sara Davison shares how you too can get on with your life to heal, grow, and move from heartbreak to happiness. Here's your host, Sara Davison.
Welcome back to the show, and today my guest is Nevine Coutry. Nevine is a single divorced mum, marketer and entrepreneur. She founded the UK's first dating app for single parents called Playdate in April 2021. Nevine has a passion for bringing people together for a good cause and is honoured to be involved with the second edition of the Divorce Fair, which I am headline speaker at. So I am super excited to welcome Nevine Coutry to the show. Welcome, Nevine.
Hi, Sara. Thank you for having me. Really excited to be here.
Well, I'm really excited because I know that you are organising the Divorce Fair. So before we get into that, I really want to know a little bit about you because you're divorced, right? So would you mind sharing a bit about your story with us?
Yeah, so I'm currently a single mum to a lovely 8-year-old boy. I got divorced about 9 years ago now. I was happily married, or at least I thought I was, for about 12 years. And it was quite a marriage that has sprouted from love, but then very quickly turned into quite an emotionally abusive relationship. And I think because I come from a Middle Eastern Muslim Arab culture, and I married into that culture, so they have very different kind of values, or let's say benchmarks for what a woman should be like, or how she should treat the man, or what the woman's role is in a relationship. So I kind of struggled with that because I've always been stuck between East and West. So I was brought up in the UK, but I'm originally Egyptian. So I have been in and out of the country over the course of my life. So I am very much Western in thinking, but also got that Eastern roots and culture. So to cut a long story short, it turned very quickly into a kind of a narcissistic, emotionally abusive relationship. And I think anyone that's in that kind of situation where you're madly in love with someone, and they've made you believe or made you think that you're not good enough, or you're not succeeding, or you're rubbish at everything that you do, you don't realize that it's a reflection of their insecurities until you're out of the situation. So it's been a real learning curve for me, and I think I've come quite a long way. But when you're in it, it's just really hard to kind of see through that. So it was tough. My son was 3 years old at the time, so it was quite difficult for him to go through that. But he wasn't old enough to ask questions, so somehow was manageable. But yeah, and then it's just been pursuing my career and really trying to get myself back out there. But it's not easy. It's not easy, especially once you've been, your confidence and your self-esteem has been really, really hit by, the person you love the most. So it's been tough.
Yeah, well, wow. I mean, that's a really interesting story. And I know that will resonate with some of my listeners there, that there are cultural differences, and you referred to there being differences between the Western sort of marriage and the way that women were viewed. What are those differences for those of us listening who aren't really familiar with that culture?
Well, I mean, in an Eastern world, I think, I'll only speak for where I come from, but women are very much they're not the breadwinners. Women are there to, raise the kids. It's more of a traditional, conventional look at the role of the woman. And her role is very much to keep the man happy, keep the children, safe and well, put food on the table, and, look pretty, and, look after herself while doing that. So that's kind of the main role. But I think once there's a shift in power, in the sense of, the woman being successful, or the woman having a job, or succeeding, or excelling in some part of life, where perhaps the man is lacking, or the man is not feeling as confident in that space, that causes quite a lot of friction. They don't really like to see women in the power seat. so to speak. So that I think that's kind of the main difference. So it's quite a sexist culture, I'm going to say.
I guess when you're in both worlds, so you said, you spend a lot of time over here as well, and obviously you're here now, that must be really difficult to adjust, because you're sort of moving on in the Western world, but being sort of brought back to some of the other more cultural that are maybe more acceptable back there, but not here. So how did you cope with that then? How did you cope mentally with that? Because I can imagine that must have been quite isolating for you.
It was extremely isolating, because as much as my family was extremely supportive and loving, they couldn't really understand, my reasons for, for leaving that relationship. And in their view, my mom, bless her, she's quite traditional. She said, well, maybe you weren't making him happy enough, that your job is to make your man happy. And, she's a woman who's, a housewife. She's a loving wife and mother. She's amazing. But she's never really worked, a day in her life. She's never really followed her true passion. Like her mission was to look after the family and my dad, her husband. So I think it's been really, really difficult. And I was very much on my own. But I have amazing friends and a great support system in the UK that really, really helped me get through this.
I mean, I guess, like here in the West, there's some women that want to do that, and that is their passion, to bring up the kids, stay at home and not work. But I mean, we all know it's hard work bringing up kids and looking after a husband. So, that's not an easy job. But so I guess there's, everybody's different. But if you have a burning passion to go on and do something and create something, then I can see that can be, very restricting. But so what were the things that got you through then? You mentioned your support team. Do you think that's the most important thing that gets you through those difficult times?
I think so. I think having a support system, whether it's paid for or not paid for, or, friends, colleagues, neighbors, everyone, as they say, it takes a village, right, to raise a child. And it does take a village to support people that are, without a family, because mind you, I'm here without my family. My family's back home. So I'm here on my own, literally. So as a single mum, working and looking after a child, it's been very difficult. But I would say friends and a support system. I did obviously seek therapy as well, just to have someone to speak to, and friends and family.
Yeah, I mean, I always talk about having a breakup support team as the first pillar to have around you when you're going through that breakup. But sometimes it's not the people you expect, is it? Like you mentioned neighbors there. I mean, sometimes it's people that you don't really expect that really step up for you. Is that what you found?
Yeah, I really found that. And even sometimes I remember bumping into this woman who's a spiritual healer on a bus one day, and she just looked at me without knowing me, just looked at me, and she held my hand, and she's like, I know. And I was like, what? And she's like, I can feel your pain, like it's gonna be fine. And I started crying instantly, because it's just some random person on a bus that just, could sense that. So yes, it's, support comes from everywhere. And I think having gone through that, or having gone through any kind of divorce, is never easy, but I think you just become stronger. You get to really rely on yourself and become your own best friend, as cheesy as that may sound, but you do become your go-to person.
Yeah, I think that's really important, to be empowered so that you're back in control, not just shifting that reliance or codependence onto somebody else, because that makes you vulnerable, I guess, doesn't it? Having the control back, so you're earning your own money and you're looking after your son and you're doing all those things yourself, whilst I know that's a lot to juggle. So now, how do you manage things? Obviously you work as well, don't you? And you've got a young child. So how do you manage working and being a single mum whilst this is a new country for you? So, it's not, you don't have the family support.
Yeah, well, I've been lucky, because I've always wanted to run my own business. So I've never actually really worked for anyone in the UK up until after the pandemic, which I'll get into in a minute. So I've always wanted to run my own business. I started off by setting up a marketing agency, which was initially my core business, mainly in the tourism sector. So I would do a lot of marketing for tourism destinations or hotel groups or travel companies, kind of promoting overseas destinations in the UK. And also did a lot of charity work. So I would fundraise for charities back home. So I set up kind of an events division in my company where we would do a lot of fundraising events for charities. Then the pandemic hit, and obviously, tourism, charity work, event space, everything, all of those sectors kind of died instantly. So my business crashed overnight. It was a lot to take because I don't have any even financial support. I didn't have any support, whether it's from family or ex-partners or anything. So it was quite a big hit. And I've always had this idea of a dating app, which is Playdate. But I never had the time to do it because I was so busy. Well, I find it extremely difficult for single parents to meet people because A, you have no time for it. You've got childcare to sort out if you want to go out. I can hardly see my friends, my girlfriends. I have to arrange so much to be able to go out and see them. So there literally is no time, and it's a logistical nightmare. So I've always thought, wouldn't it be just great to have a dating app where you could just see other single parents and connect with them and arrange a date. So I had the time during lockdown to really pursue this idea and launch the UK's first dating app for single parents. It's called Playdate. So that's been a birth child of lockdown.
Wow. So tell me a bit about how it works.
Right. So it works pretty much the same as any dating app. The only difference is that it's completely only for single parents. So to sign up, you need to be a single parent. And then you can chat to people, you can connect with like-minded single parents in your area. They could be in the same school districts or in the same schools that your children go to. And you set your filters based on what you want. The nice thing about the app is that, because I've really thought about it because I am the customer, so I know what I'm looking for. So for example, I would love to have more kids. I mean, I wouldn't want to stop having kids. I'd love to have a sister or brother for my son because I only have one child. So you can, as one of the filters, say that you're open to having more children or not, so that you can match up with people that are also looking to have more kids. It also caters to every kind of single parent. So whether you're widowed, a solo parent, because we have a lot of single parents that have chosen to be parents on their own without a partner. Same-sex single parents that are looking for same-sex relationships. So it's a very inclusive dating app for all types of single parents, regardless of what you're looking for. And I think my favorite feature in the app is that you can make yourself invisible to an ex-partner. So for example, I wouldn't want my ex-husband to see me on the app. So you can make yourself invisible to any individual you wouldn't want to, stalk you or see what you're doing.
Ooh, I like that feature. That's very handy.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's really interesting. I think, when you're dating again, it's important to have a think about what it is you're looking for from a partner. And for a lot of people before they have kids, they're not really sure if they want to date someone who has kids, which is interesting, isn't it? Because if you don't have kids, I think it's very hard to understand. I mean, some people can, but a lot of people can't understand that maybe you might have to prioritize your child because maybe they get sent home from school, or maybe they're not well, or the childcare falls through. And if you don't have kids, you wouldn't really be able to understand that as well. And I think, that's where challenges can come up. Is that what you found in the past?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think having children, I'm sure there are some people you can come across that can't have children but would love children or understand what it means to have children. But unless you're truly a parent, you can't really truly understand the challenges that come with it. And it's not just challenges, it's also the joys. I mean, when you love a child unconditionally, you can also love a partner unconditionally. But if someone isn't a parent, there might be jealousy there, or feel like you're not giving them your full attention, or that, you prioritize your kids. Kids will always be a priority. I mean, especially if you've got sole custody or if they're in your care, your child will always come first. So I think having that like-mindedness with someone who's already a parent really, really helps. It kind of cuts out the misunderstandings, or, it really saves you from explaining, why you've got to do things a certain way, or why you can't make it on a date because you've got childcare issues, or, you'd rather have a coffee date, when the kids are in school. It just makes things a lot easier. Whereas I think with people that aren't parents, they'd be like, oh, let's spontaneously go for a day trip to Paris, which would be amazing before having kids, but it's not really something you could do as a single parent.
Yeah, well, it would take a bit of planning, wouldn't it, if you were going to do that? It would take a bit of planning. I wouldn't rule it out, but
I would love it. I would love it.
Exactly. But yeah, I think you're so right. And also, if someone's got kids, they will understand the fact that, it's not like, I don't love you, you don't love me because you're doing this, or I love you more, or you love your kids more. Yes, it's a different kind of love. There's lots of different kinds of love, aren't there?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I want to come on to the divorce fair. So I'm really excited to be headline speaker at the divorce fair, which you are organising on behalf of Smith O'Connor. So tell us a little bit about the show, because this is the second show that he's run in London.
Yes, it's really exciting. We're really pleased to have our second show happening this year. Obviously, the first one, as you know, you were with us for the first one in 2019, was right before the pandemic started. So sadly, we couldn't have it in 2020 or 2021. But yes, it was started off with Mr. Smith O'Connor, who's the founder of the idea. And it's really to kind of demystify the stigma around divorce. Because when you hear divorce fair, it's not about promoting divorce or promoting people getting divorced. It's really a one-stop shop for people looking for advice, whether they're on the fence about the decision, or contemplating divorce, or going through it at the moment, or thinking about going through it in the future. It's really a place for support, advice, get to listen to people like yourself that are experts in the field, lawyers, legal advice, financial advice, because there's so many things that one goes through. And I wish that this fair was around when I was having my divorce, because you don't really know who to go to. People usually just want your money at the end of the day. No one really cares for your best interest as much as having a business. So it really feels like it felt for me like a transactional, commercial transaction, having a divorce, whereas there's so many questions that go through your mind. So the idea is to gather people around, people in the field that are experts, to really give that expert advice to people that are really going through one of the biggest decisions in your life. So it's there to support both men and women in all aspects that are affected by divorce. So yes, so it's very exciting.
Yeah, it is very exciting. Now, I know Smith O'Connor is from Egypt originally, and I know he's currently on his 9th divorce. So I know that divorce is very close to his heart. And he was talking to me earlier about why he was doing it. And he said he really wants to provide help and information for people because he knows how difficult it is. And he really wants people to be able to stay amicable as they go through that divorce process, maybe even saving that relationship. But if they are going through it, then helping them to cope better. So I know that you've got a whole range of different people who are going to be there. And obviously this podcast goes out across the world. So some people may be listening all over the world. But I think the idea behind the divorce fair, even if you can't get there yourself, is to know that there is a lot of help out there these days now for people going through it. It certainly wasn't when I was going through it myself 12 years ago. And I think that the industry has progressed a lot to provide not only the legal support, which, let's face it, that's been there a while. And, you can have your own opinions, as I certainly do, on how family court system works, especially over here in the UK. But, there is another side to it. There's the emotional roller coaster and the practical challenges. And that's why I'm going to be there. I obviously got a stand there as well. And we're running the divorce coaching booth. So my coaches, my accredited breakup and divorce coach practitioners are going to be there offering free sessions so that you can come along. You can book it in advance as well. If you want to, you can book a free session, or you can just turn up on the day and book in to speak to one of our coaches who can start the ball rolling and explain how we can help you cope better with the process and share some tools and tips with you that you can take away immediately to start seeing some benefit. So there's a lot of advantages of coming to the show, aren't there, Nevine? What are the advantages?
It's also free to attend. So, whether you're considering, you don't need to really spend any money. You just, register on our website. You get a free ticket to attend. And it's just not only obviously you're so kind to offer those coaching sessions, but to also really hear you speak about, your experience and how to go through, how to really survive and thrive, as your headline session is called. So I think people, even if they're maybe a bit nervous about actually going ahead with coaching or with a session, just to get a taster or a feel of the process. And I think it'd be really, really beneficial for people to come in. It's happening on the 22nd and 23rd of February in Hilton Olympia in Kensington, London, Kensington. And yeah, you can just pop in anytime throughout the day. It's between 10 and 5 p.m. on each day. And yes, we'll have a really full lineup of speakers and a great program for everyone seeking advice.
I am very excited because I know this is going to help a lot of people, people that are worried, people that are anxious. So I know coming along to these things can be a bit daunting, can't it, at times, but please don't worry. There's going to be a lot of people there who will reassure you and give you different types of advice so that you can really start to get some more clarity about your situation. And I'm a big believer that clarity gives you power. So the more you know, the better decisions you'll be able to make. And if you are feeling a bit daunted, a bit overwhelmed right now, then it's the right place to be. Come along, talk to us, find out, all the information that you might need to know, and meet Nevine and the team. We will be there to welcome you with open arms, won't we, Nevine?
Definitely. And I will be promoting Playday. I'll be exhibiting myself. So if you are past that stage of heartbreak and are looking to put yourself back out there, come and talk to us and we'll talk you through the app and how it works and everything you need.
So Nevine, for those people wanting to come to the Divorce Fair, where can they go to get their tickets?
So they can go to our website, which is thedivorcefair.com, and then you just register for free tickets.
Brilliant. There you go. Very easy. Brilliant. Well, thank you, Nevine, for being a fabulous guest. I've just got one last question for you that I ask all my guests on the podcast. And that is, the podcast is called Heartbreak to Happiness. And I think it's really important to know what happiness is for you. So when you are going through those tough times, I know you talked about some of those earlier, then you can tap into that happiness and just recognize it along the way to give you a boost. So what is happiness for you, Nevine?
Wow. I think happiness for me, what comes straight to mind is just seeing my son smile and having a giggle with him. Just him being happy makes me extremely happy. So I think that's kind of, he's my rock, my happiness rock. I'll say that.
That's lovely. I feel exactly the same way about my little one and his laughter. I wish I could record it and just can it, because it's such a lovely such a lovely sound and always makes me feel good. So I'm with you on that one, as I'm sure as are all the single parents listening right now too. So thank you, Nevine, for being a fabulous guest.
Thank you, Sara, and we'll see you soon at the Divorce Fair. Thank you so much.
That's it for today's episode. Be sure to head on over to thedivorcefair.com to get your free tickets to come to the show, and also check out Playdate, which is Nevine's app if you're in the UK. And I look forward to you joining me on my next episode.
That's it for today's episode of Heartbreak to Happiness. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review to win a free ticket to one of Sara's virtual retreats. The retreats are a transformative combination of live webinars with Sara herself, coupled with empowering online video programs designed to help you cope better with your breakup and start feeling happy again. For more details, head on over to heartbreaktahappinesspodcast.com, where you can also get a copy of Sara's free gift. Thank you, and join us again on the next episode for another dose of Heartbreak to Happiness.